Welcome to Monarchist Minute. I'm Victor Smith. Tonight we will be discussing a topic about who I think at least should be the primary influence over America. But first, we have an announcement. We have been interviewed by none other than the BBC for a documentary series called Europe's Royals Revisited. It is available on the BBC Select streaming service. Our episode will most likely be the final episode, and as you are watching this, the first 2 out of 3 episodes are available right now. You can start a free trial by going to their website, and thereafter it is $5 a month if you wish to continue to subscribe. Now, the topic: Anglos, Hispanics, or Les French? Who should have the most influence on America?
We go in order.
Anybody can go.
Okay, I guess we're gonna go in order since Trad gets to go first.
Yeah. So this topic originally just started as a discussion we were having on our Discord server, link in the description, by the way, and it was between a couple of members, and it was arguing whether or not Hispanic culture or Anglo culture was the basis of America. And as a Hispanic myself, I argued in favor of Hispanic culture being the basis of current and should be basis of future American just society. And in my personal opinion, I mean, since the days of Columbus, there's always been Hispanic influence in America. And the first permanent settlements in America were Spanish, St. Augustine, Florida, prime among them. And there's never been an official language for the United States as long as it's been a country. But the prime competitor with English is Spanish, and at one point even outnumbered English, though for a short time in its early colonial days. And personally, I would just love to see an expansion of, maybe not in the entire U.S., but just an expansion of Hispanic culture in the southern and western United States, because it just works with the current system set up there and how the cultures interact. But that is my opinion. Koshin. He, I believe, is AFK.
I'm second.
Oh, there
okay.
he is. Yeah, you are second.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was second. Sorry, give me 1 sec. I need to swallow something.
That's exactly what the government wants you
to do. I just had food in my mouth. Come on, man. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say that we shouldn't be I mean the concept essentially to me smacks of what do you call it? Social engineering, which I'm not a fan of generally. This is primarily it's sort of the root of the standard shared culture, to the extent that there is one. We are fundamentally an Anglo nation, or a nation of Anglo heritage, might be a slightly better way to put it. But I think that should remain the same. I think that most of our values are wrapped up in that. And I think well, yeah, it would sort of be fundamentally wrong to try and intentionally change that in a way, I think.
Very good. Bubba.
So I myself am an Anglo that is from the Great Commonwealth of Virginia, well, the first colony of the British. But I am one that is okay with the multiculturalism of the United States, as I love the different cultures and the Hispanic culture primarily. And I speak a little bit of Spanish, and to cover the French, I know a few words in French, but I don't think French is enough culture, except maybe Louisiana and New England. But so I think Anglo culture should have precedence, but we can't ignore the fact that Hispanic culture has covered so much of this continent that there is going to be some trace of it, no matter how much we try to sweep it under the rug. But I don't see why we can't just have both and have, both quinceañeras and sweet 16s, or have both um Cinco de Mayo, even though that's a Republican holiday. I'm just using this as an example. Cinco de Mayo and another random Anglo holiday that I can't think of right now because I'm tired.
4th of July.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to do 4th of July because that's kind of a big one, but yeah,
It
exactly.
works. It works.
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just that wasn't my direction anyway.
I would say a big Anglican holiday or an Anglo holiday would be Thanksgiving because it reflects English harvest festivals.
Ah,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
a good.
speaking, yeah, and as a Virginian, having the first Thanksgiving, that's a big one for me.
Doppelganger.
All right,
Charles?
All right. So this is a thing where I can say, why not both? Because I learned today about what was his name, John Ron Stewart today. No relation to direct relation, anyways, to the Stewarts, who I'm such a fan of. But he was a Jacobite, and you know, he was a bard, as it were. All of his stuff was written in Gaelic, so I guess that's another contender I'm throwing into the fray, except one of his poems, that we know of, anyways. So like reading that, yeah, England and the British Isles got a lot of stuff wrong post Reformation, but there was some stuff that uh that we Anglos definitely did get right. I mean, Charles Dickens, not a huge fan of Tale of Two Cities. I'm currently reading through it. It's like he's like, "Oh, we're so terrible with our industrial society," but then as soon as the French are brought into the mix, he's like, "Oh, look at how superior we are. Look at how cool we are. Look at this guy, this character that I wrote, where how he like forsakes the French and the nobility. Oh, that's that cool." Anyways, um, but we did, Dickens and a lot of other writers, Tolkien, probably one of the I think he'll go down in history as one of the greatest writers of the English tradition.
Personally, I think Tolkien is a better English writer than Shakespeare, but that's because I think Shakespeare is honestly trash.
Well, I
Unpopular
mean,
opinion.
I don't know. I never really watched a Shakespeare play, but I've been told it's better to watch it than to read it. But I enjoy reading it. I mean, after I read it 15 times to try to figure out what's being said.
I prefer Dr. Seuss.
You need one of those books that like explains what's going on the other page.
Yeah, I think my both complete collections that my family owns, because somehow I wound up with two, have oh no, this one doesn't. Okay.
I'm
But no,
still
I mean,
mad that we never got to do Caesar in high school. We had to do Much Ado About Nothing and Romeo and Juliet, but we never did get to do Caesar.
yeah, let's see.
Imagine not doing Caesar.
In lit class, we had to do scenes from Macbeth, so that was fun.
That's fun, yeah.
Yeah, because my lit teacher at the time was also the director for the schools. Anyways, no, but so as much as the Anglo world has done a lot of bad, there's still been a lot of good that's come out of it. Namely stuff that's lingering on from the Catholic tradition, like Chesterton. Like if you haven't read The Man Who Was Thursday, do it, dude. But bear in mind the full title is The Man Who Was Thursday: a Nightmare, because otherwise you're going to be confused towards the end. But yeah, but the French and the Spanish, of course, they maintained the faith until more recent times, 1789. And from them, we have some of the most beautiful parishes. I will admit, and this probably will be an unpopular opinion, I'm not the biggest fan of Spanish colonial architecture over here. At least, I mean, don't get me wrong, I prefer it over any modern form of architecture, but I prefer Gothic and romantic romance and all that.
You're
Restored.
literally
Sorry,
insane.
classical.
It's like the best aspect of Spanish influence we have.
What is?
The colonial architecture is like the best element of Spanish influence we have.
Well, don't get me wrong, I like it. It's just not my cup of tea when it comes to good architecture. It's like saying,
I
you
would
like episode 6, you think episode 6 is the worst of the original trilogy or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's the worst, but it's still a good movie.
I have to disagree with the architecture thing, knowing that food exists and Hispanic food is fantastic.
Well, unfortunately, my taste buds are very wasky, white Anglo-Saxon Catholic. So, yeah, I don't do
Oh,
spice.
white boy can't handle the heat.
I can't. I really can't. I'm sorry. I would like to be able to eat spicy food, but I mean, salt's a spice. I'll say that. That's about the only spice I really do. I mean, I do jambalaya. My grandma puts in spiciness into jambalaya, so
I don't care what any Parisian chef says, jambalaya is the best French food. That and gumbo.
yeah, I haven't had gumbo. But anyways, my point being that the Spanish have and the French have left us with a beautiful example of faith, and I'm sure that if I learned Spanish and French and dove, dove,
Dove.
dove,
Dove.
dove, dove, dove. Okay, dove into their literary past. I would find beautiful stories that obviously haven't come to light because you can't really read them if you don't know Spanish or French. But I think that it really is going to be a combination of bringing all three. The Spanish and French we can probably bring in with little scrutiny because they didn't, because the Spanish and French when they came over here were all good Catholics. The English stuff we're going to have to comb through it a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, this is the thing with Christendom. Wherever there is Christendom, there is beauty. So we can't really go wrong with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
My turn.
Yes, your
Sure,
turn.
why not?
You
I
say that
think,
as though it's a burden.
I think all of them have influence, but it mainly depends on geography. Like, Spanish has more influence west of the Mississippi, and English has more influence east of the Mississippi. And that really defines the different regions of the US and cultural influences. Like out west and in the southwest, we see a lot more Spanish Latino influence, whereas, of course, along the east coast, it's dominantly Anglo because of where colonial lines fell. With the only exception, of course, being Florida.
Florida
And
was held by the Spanish.
yeah. And
And the British.
I really have to say, I don't think there's a lot of French influence, primarily because of how little the French actually practically settled in North America outside of Quebec City and New Orleans. I mean, when you think about the whole of the Louisiana purchase, there is basically nothing but empty land now. It's just inhabited by native populations. There's no there weren't any large French populations in the U.S. proper outside of New Orleans.
But
And
there
then,
were communities that still kind of existed as French until recently, and TV, started to make everyone speak English. TV and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race.
but I'm just saying that, I don't think French was that impactful. A nation or a culture I think that was more impactful primarily is maybe Celtic or Germanic traditions that we're leaving out. A lot of the Midwest was settled by German and Scandinavian settlers, and they left a huge impact. Well, would we bunch the Celts in with the Anglos, or
I kind of already did, but I mean, there kind of are also a separate thing. I mean, we're just kind of there. I mean, it's kind of put together through circumstance, you know.
My Scottish ancestors are probably killing me for even wanting to kill me from beyond the grave for even insinuating that the Celts and the Anglos should go together.
I
Well,
mean,
the
look,
Scots
I mean,
Irish,
when you're on one island, you know, you got to share something.
the Scots Irish were really forced into Appalachia, while the more Anglo-Saxons were in the lower lands of east of the Mississippi. But yeah, most people will group them together because they came from Great Britain and Great Britain and Ireland,
I mean,
the Isles.
all I know is what Ancestry.com tells me, and what they tell me is that my ancestors got off the boat and went as far inland and as far away from the English as they could get. And but yeah, I think we need to talk about less about the French and more about the German, especially the Dutch, if we want to talk about like New York and stuff in that specific region.
Unique New York.
Then
To
again,
sit
New
in
York
solemn
is
silence.
more New York's more Italian than it is Dutch anymore.
Oh, fun fact: Harlem was originally the Dutch neighborhood of New York, so that's
Right,
a
because it's
fun
named
fact
after
for you.
the Dutch city of Harlem.
Yeah. What are there any other famous neighborhoods that used to be one ethnicity and are now? I mean, like neighborhoods switch ethnicities all the time, but like, are there any neighborhoods that are like famous that used to be they were founded by one ethnicity and carry that name, but then are different?
I know there's a part of Columbus called Germantown in Ohio. There's a lot of German influence in Ohio and in the Midwest. No joke.
Yeah, I mean, up in Michigan we have Frankenmuth, which is unfortunately it was founded by Bavarians. Unfortunately, it was the Lutheran kind. But hey, you know, you got the world's. I mean, I don't know if it's the world's. I think it's the world's. It's the world's largest Christmas store. You know,
Based.
it sells a
Yeah.
lot of.
I think you've told us that before. And speaking of Bavarians, we would like to congratulate Ludwig of Bavaria, the third in line to the Bavarian throne, the one which will inherit it after Franz and Max pass on his upcoming nuptials. He'll be married tomorrow as we're recording.
Very nice. And Victor, did you have any opinion on the Hispanic versus Anglo?
Did I have an opinion? This is going to be the most biased thing I have ever said on this show. But yeah, Anglo.
I don't think we can be friends anymore. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But seriously, the Anglo culture, while it did give us a lot of negative things, it also gave us, well, the language we speak today. It gave us the close connection that we have to the United Kingdom, which is kind of why we covered the coronation of King Charles III in such grand ceremony on our podcast.
It gave us the most glorious common law system, which is superior to any other legal system, in my opinion.
Just didn't.
True.
But
Oh, well, actually, I do have something to say. My great grandmother did say that we Slovaks were the fairest of all the races. So maybe there's an argument to be made for Slovak dominance over this country, because clearly what great grandma said
Least racist Central European.
I mean,
I mean,
Wait,
what?
what?
We
What?
were such.
Hold on, didn't Slovaks like not even rule themselves for most of like European history?
Okay, hold on.
We
I was
don't
just
talk
about to get to
about
that. I was just
that.
about to get to that. We were
We
so
don't
fair.
talk about that.
We were such a fair and noble race that we knew that if we ruled ourselves, we would eventually take over the world, which is why we let ourselves be ruled over by the Czechs and the Hungarians and the Austrians for the past 500 years.
This
We
is
were
why I
It
argue
was
this
out of interest to the rest of the world.
we were kings and such and such.
average Balkaner.
Uh,
But
another
and
another
speaking of
solution to this
Central
dispute.
Europeans, or do Poles count as Central European?
Yes, they're
yes,
Central
because
European.
they're Western Slavs. What were you gonna say, Bubba?
I'll let Will finish.
Okay, so a little fun fact. Illinois had a lot of Polish settlers in it, and Polish is actually considered the third largest ethnicity, or like the linguistic ethnicity in Illinois. But all the other surrounding Midwestern states are Germans. So there's like a little Polish island in the middle of a German sea.
Correction, Michigan's third language is actually Arabic, originally now Arabic. I don't know if it happened before or after a bunch of Muslims started to immigrate here, but there were a lot of Maronite Catholics who GM brought over in like the 20s, which is why Dearborn, which was originally a Polish town, is now an Arab town.
Very interesting.
Virginia's third language is Korean, which I have no idea why.
Because there's like 5 people who don't speak English in Virginia, and 2 of them are
Honestly,
Korean. I
yes.
don't know. like,
But
that's my guess.
another solution to this whole question is we split the U.S. We keep the U.S. together, obviously.
But we
I
split
think
cultural hegemony based on dominant groups.
Exactly. And I can
if
think of about 4 or 5 different regions we could do.
Oh
Just
yeah,
this way.
you're doing your alternate history on that, and I had a similar idea a while ago, but unfortunately I dropped it.
Oh, no, I'm talking about even today.
Korean
know.
Virginia, I'll raise you with Vietnamese Texas.
Well,
Oh.
again, because there's like 5 people in Texas who don't speak English as their primary language. Like, next.
I mean, I guess it makes sense that like Vietnamese refugees that were trying to escape communism would go to the most, stereotypically anti-communist state.
Slightly off topic,
But
then
there's
again,
like
we're always
no
off topic.
trees in Texas. They can't live.
So-
They can't live in the trees.
Oh
No
yeah,
trees in Texas.
here's something interesting. So, everyone pronounce the name of that country, the one we were just talking about. I want to hear how it's pronounced generally.
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Well, that's really
Vietnam.
interesting because I'm pretty sure you said
So,
Vietnamese.
Yeah, he did say Vietnamese, but anyway,
Vietnamese. Yeah.
Vietnamese.
So the standard English pronunciation of that country is Vietnam. But what I learned recently was that the kind of stereotype of the Southern like sergeant in the war is Vietnam. That's actually closer to the pronunciation used by Vietnamese people. It's Vietnam.
I mean, to be fair, the Southern accent is also closer to the original British accent too, just slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
So it
But
seems
yeah,
like
no,
us
Vietnam,
Southerners have
funnily
a
enough,
lot
is
better with.
I mean, if
Are
we're
you
gonna
saying that you
imitate,
Southerners are the fairest of all the Anglos?
Yes, that's
I
exactly
mean, they
what I'm
have the
saying.
best cooking out of all the Anglos. Northern Anglos can't cook. I'm from Ohio, and I will admit that.
In my
There
opinion,
ain't any good cooking north of the Mason-Dixon line.
in my opinion, the best Anglos are Boston Anglos for
Ooh,
just
Boston?
how hilarious they are.
I hate to tell you this, but most people in Boston are Irish, and you're probably gonna have a car bomb under your vehicle now.
Oh yeah, yes. Well, I'll check under my car with mirrors and such. But until then, I don't think the Ra's coming after me, so I'm good.
Reminds me of a joke me and my Irish friend made once. And we said, imagine if you open your trunk to look for a car bomb and there's just an Irish bartender making an Irish car bomb in your trunk.
Oh, that's good.
It's like they're mixing the Baileys and the Guinness underneath your trunk and they just hand it to you.
Did we have another topic? I believe we did.
Oh, I guess it was supposed to move into how American is America, which when I pitched the idea is like how much of American institutions are, I guess, domestic inventions of ours or just still lingering remnants from the pre-existing culture. Of course, there's the obvious middle ground of stuff that started out as from other countries that we kind of modified, like the idea of like this whole idea of like life and justice, which we modified into we can still kill you if we want, and if we say so, you can get justice is whatever. But I'm sorry.
No. That it does bring up an interesting idea, which is, in my opinion, America's worst export is democracy, and the idea that we have to send it everywhere.
Specifically liberal democracy, I would
Look,
say.
Let's go interfere
well,
with these little Middle Eastern nations and give them liberal democracy.
no, I'm gonna put a qualifier on that. It was specifically going for republics rather than reinstating potential monarchies that we by all accounts we probably could have done and would have been stabler.
Iran. Yeah, no,
I
it
would
was
say, now here's the better question. What's our second worst export?
tourists.
Second
I was-
worst export is consumerism.
Oh, yeah. I was
Mm.
going to go for consumerism and say fast food because we basically...
Consumerism as a whole, like people, they don't enjoy the idea of like people not liking consumerism. But sorry, I'm trying to avoid not making Charles happy. But the big thing is that we just have to like consume, like it's the best word, right? Buy this thing, move on to next thing, watch this thing, move on to next thing. Like we can't, I mean, even with our social media nowadays, our old social media, like think Facebook, like and I'm going to sound like a huge boomer here, but like old social media like Facebook, you could write paragraphs, right? Paragraphs upon paragraphs, and it was supposed to be, yeah, you could go through it quicker, but it was still generally like you're having a conversation. Now we have TikTok, which is it is designed around making you move from one thing to another very, very quickly, right? Watch this thing, you're done with it, move on to the next thing as quick as possible. Move. Watch,
Our
watch,
culture,
consume.
our culture has become so
Consume
thorough.
stupid internet meme and then get excited for next stupid internet meme.
Yeah, and I won't even pretend like I'm not a victim of that. I'm entirely a product of my time, and so I do see internet meme, get excited next internet meme, but like it is absolutely a horrible thing that America has to just send consumerism out to the whole world. I
You
mean, look
see,
at Japan or any Eastern nation really, but
now I will say Japan is winning the consumerist game because they managed to get themselves in a position where more people consume their stuff than they consume.
well, because Japan comes at consumerism from an ethno-national, point of view where they're just like, we will export our amazing consumerism to beat your consumerism, while American consumerism is more of, how about everyone all over like, for example, contact lenses. I don't know how many of you actually have worn contacts, but when you put them in,
I can't
they
do it.
they
I
have
can't
they have numbers on the inside, 1, 2, 3, to make sure that you're putting them in the right way. Do you know why it's 1, 2, 3 and not ABC? It's 1, 2, 3 because 1, 2, 3 is near universal in places that have contact lenses. ABC is only Latin language world, right? You can't send that to China. You can't send that to Japan. You can't send that to Africa.
You can't even
only
send that to Russia or Greece.
you can't even send it to all of Europe. Like so 1, 2, 3 is more universal than ABC. That's what American consumerism is about. It's about selling as much to as many as possible. Japanese consumerism is we're going to export our, in their opinion, superior consumer products than your garbage.
I mean, we could talk about. You could say superior. A little
Oh no!
bit
Oh no! I started the
sarcastically.
anime fight. This is not how I wanted this to go down. But no, seriously, I think that just absolutely exporting liberal democracy, exporting consumerism, and tourists. I hate tourists. Insert example of insert video of American tourist breaking priceless artifact at wherever.
Yeah,
One thing,
and there's like, I mean, what is it with tourists expecting every single Tom, Dick, and Harry in a foreign country to be able
All
to
right, I'm back.
fluently,
I'm
to
sorry,
be
my laptop
able
died.
to, okay, okay, let me just restate my point then. What, why do a lot of Americans assume that every Tom, Dick, and Harry in a foreign country that doesn't have English as its primary language speaks English fluently or can understand every single word they say in English?
Probably because English is so common. I'm not saying that it's right and we should just assume that everyone speaks English, but if you're going to assume someone speaks a language other than his native language, it's going to be English.
I mean, in the Americas, we kind of live in, I guess you could call it an English isolate, which due to colonization and such, there's only like 3 or 4 languages in the entirety of North America, and they're
English,
so
French,
completely
Spanish,
isolated.
yeah.
And I would
I'm
English,
say,
sorry, I
Quebec
have to get
French.
going.
Okay.
and I would just say that since it's like that, we're basically in a way spoiled, where we're not used to having to deal with people who speak a different language. We're just, I guess you could say, we're in a bubble, sort
well,
of.
not only that, but English is the third most popular language among first language speakers worldwide after Mandarin and Spanish. So it's a pretty good bet that majority of people will speak either Mandarin, Spanish, or English. And how many Americans do you know that speak Mandarin?
Nobody.
Be
Okay, then.
second language of choice throughout the world.
I mean, personally, I speak fluent Mandarin, which is something not many people know. And for proof, for those who don't believe me, 在杭州我现在我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋。I'm kidding. I do not speak Mandarin, but no time for comedy.
To go back to what I was saying before my laptop died and I had to rush to get my charger. Say what you will about sarcastically about Japanese culture. I don't see a lot of Western animation studios managing to keep up right now.
Well, I'm gonna save that offensive joke for later.
Oh. So
You know
are
what?
we
It's
not
not that. It's not that offensive. I could say it. We don't have underpaid children in America. Well, not underpaid to that extent.
No,
Just underpaid adults.
What? Is someone joining and leaving? I can't.
let me go look.
Yeah, the arrangement of people on here keeps spinning around, and I think someone keeps joining, but I can't tell.
My head keeps on spinning, grinning. Something be okay.
Right. So, let me figure out. So let's get us back a little bit on some kind of topic here. So anything else anybody wanted to bring up? I know, Trad, there was a certain win in the state of Nebraska today.
Yes, there was an amazing win in the state of Nebraska today. Today in Nebraska, so for real quick, a lot of people aren't familiar. In Nebraska, we don't have a House and a Senate or anything like that. We just have what's called a unicameral, basically one house that makes decisions. So the unicameral today made they passed LB, Legislative Bill 574, which LB 574 does two things in one. It's basically two bills that were packaged as one. The first thing it does is it bans abortion of any kind, in the exception of saving the life of a mother, preceding, I believe, 12 or post 12 weeks. So there will not be, minus extraneous circumstances, a 12-week abortion in Nebraska as long as this law stands. The second part of the bill bans the usage of sex change surgeries, operations, medicines, or hormones for use by minors, which in the state of Nebraska is under the age of 19. And personally, I am super excited about abortion being banned. Because, well, up to 12 weeks. Because it's just, I mean, I don't think I have to, every time we talk about it, make the argument, but it's murder, simple as, and now we can be rid of it in my great state. Soon enough, we will approach perfection of having it banned, minus extraneous circumstances, in all ages. But until then, I think it's absolutely been a win for my state.
What qualifies as an extraneous circumstance? I'm curious.
So I haven't read the full text of the bill yet. I've read part of it. But as far as I know, extraneous circumstances include things that would threaten the life of the mother. And
That's reasonable.
it also doesn't include things like the removal of a stillborn or dead baby. It doesn't include the removal of certain, like a tubal pregnancy, I believe. Though I may have ectopic.
The
Thank you.
medical term is ectopic.
Yeah, it does not include the removal of that. Does not include the removal of a baby if it is done to save the life of the baby as well. So, for example, if it's going to suffocate in the womb and they have to take it out, then it's not an abortion. Basically, legally defined, murdering a baby in the womb is an abortion, and so that is outlawed after 12 weeks. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not incorrect, that the heartbeat starts at 12 weeks. I can't remember.
6.
12 weeks is the end of the first trimester. That's actually pretty standard, and actually, even Europe, 12 to 14 weeks is where they usually cut it off.
How long is it before a woman normally knows she's pregnant?
It depends.
Though I know that in
It's
Europe, they're
very-
actually, like, basically in Europe, if there is any restriction, it's up to 12 weeks. But in a lot of Europe, they unfortunately have it basically up until the point of birth.
Yeah, obviously, now that Roe v. Wade's overturned, Roe no mo.
No, no.
Roe no mo. Anyways, now that that's done and dusted, and we can dance on that case's grave, that'll be so fun. Road trip. I obviously the ideal thing would just be to be like copy
National ban.
Catechism of the Catholic, copy Control-C, Control-V, but unfortunately,
yeah.
unfortunately we can't do that. But hey, anything, as long as we're moving in the right direction.
A win's a win.
Okay, no one joined and left, but I just swapped places with Blubba, so I don't know what.
weird thing.
I just unmuted.
Also, I
don't
think
know
I
if
think
that does anything.
I think officially we should just like on the podcast start calling him the way his name would be phonetically pronounced, being Bubba.
Please don't use the. Please don't use the bilabial spell.
Comrades
He's
of the
starting to-
glorious monarchist union.
Anyway, back on topic. No, it's absolutely a win, and I am excited for further legislation regarding abortion.
And banning child,
Sex treatments,
yeah,
absolutely,
that is lay-based. And
extremely.
I had to listen to this thing. So Dad's not liberal. He's still holding on to this notion that NPR is a balanced, not balanced, but a more balanced outlet, which is like, I mean, come on. Even The Simpsons made a joke about it. Like they had the scales of justice or whatever, and the show was called Left, 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 Right.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So when The Simpsons is making a joke about the liberal bias of NPR, you know it's a problem. But
Do we
anyway,
have to remember
so
the Apu episode?
for no reason, here's Apu. Anyways, um, that show used to be so fun, but then it just wasn't. But anyways, so NPR.
Mark, please don't come again.
Back on topic. We're
Okay.
losing
Anyway,
it.
so NPR makes this video about these like trans kids and how horrible it is. This was about Florida specifically, I think, and it's like, oh, but what are we gonna do about this? And obviously, like it's journalism, so the NPR people can't come out and directly say, uh, but that it's pretty clear from the tone, and I'm like, you realize how evil you're being, right? Like advocating for, permanently sterilizing children I mean, it's sort of like, I don't know. I kind of had this feeling that the devil's modus operandi was, oop, I couldn't kill him. Well, let's see if we can, mess him up.
Well, I once heard a conspiracy theory. Now, I don't necessarily believe this because I'm a very big believer and don't contribute to malice what could be written off as stupidity. That given the overlap between a lot of people who are becoming trans and a lot of people who have pre-existing mental illnesses, that there's a conspiracy that they're using it as an excuse to sterilize the mentally ill.
I don't necessarily. I think that is more, and this is the thing, right? Because we're operating under the assumption that this is actually still a mental illness, regardless of what the DSM says. Which,
No,
okay,
I mean
let's okay, hold on. So
I mean like other. Like there seems to be a growing overlap between people with autism and people identifying as trans.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That generally speaking, if you have a mental disorder, right, you're probably gonna have other ones. Like I'm pretty much basically everyone's like, yeah, you have Asperger's syndrome, which apparently people are treating as separate from autism. I don't care. It's autism. Who cares?
Asperger's, nobody is being diagnosed with it anymore. They are diagnosing that now as being on the autism spectrum.
Can we just stop complicating? Okay, whatever. This is another point, and this is
I think
someone
it
who's
has to
basically
do with
autistic or whatever you want to
somebody
call it. People
I
are
think
like neurodivergent. Okay, stop taking 2 seconds to describe what you can sum up in 1 second. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I don't care. But my point being is that even though that's pretty much what I have, I also kind of have maybe symptoms of OCD a little bit, considering that I want absolute perfection out of certain things when that's not realistic. And then actually, I did this as a joke, because for a psych class we had to do a demonstration of a mental disorder or talk about it. Well, I decided to be funny and act out as a guy, as a doctor who's talking about OCD, but he has OCD, and as part of the pun, someone hands him a glass of Coke, right? And he asks for 4 ice cubes, and and he was handed a glass with only 3, and he's like, 3, but I asked for 4. So I, being too lazy just to take the ice cubes out and put in 4 fresh ice cubes, I just added 1. But then I kind of noticed it bothered me that 1 ice cube was less melted than the others, and I'm like, oh.
Oh no, I have exploited something that is now making me realize something else. What have I
Yeah,
done?
I mean, it's I mean, this is the thing. If you have one mental illness, you're likely to show symptoms of another. So I think that it's not so much an elaborate conspiracy, which don't get me wrong. Generally speaking, conspiracy theories nowadays are just theories. I'm still convinced that the government's I'm still convinced the government's behind NASA, and you can't prove me otherwise. But the onion used to be so funny. But anyway, but yeah, no, I mean, the thing is that I don't think it's an elaborate conspiracy. I just think it's an unfortunate coincidence. Um, because if you have someone like me, I mean, I can see it because I mean, part of the thing with my lived experience. Let's use some terms to inoculate myself now that now that the woke mob would probably hang me. Um, in my lived experience, I have a tendency to disassociate and want to live more in fantasy lands. Like, can I live in the island of Sodor, please? That'd be great. Um, eh, so I guess there's that fundamental disconnect from reality that's a thing. And obviously, I'm not a psychologist. I'm probably anyone who's struggling with this is probably going to hate me, and so I apologize. I'm not. I don't know how exactly to talk to you in a charitable way. I would direct you to a recent Pints with Aquinas interview on that. He was interviewing some guy whose name I can't remember. Um, but just know I love you. I do want what's best for you. And yeah.
But Charles,
Yeah.
your ice cube story reminds me of a story my mom always harasses me with. And apparently this is the story about how she kind of learned I had autism. She didn't know at the time, but this is kind of the story. It's like I should have known something was up. But at some point, when I was like a toddler or something, I don't know, it was before I could speak, that's all I know. I was playing with blocks, and they're like colored blocks and stuff. And I forget what happened. I think my mom accidentally knocked them over while she was cleaning something, and being a little kid, I got upset. So she tried to fix it. But I wasn't calming down. And the reason I wasn't calming down apparently is because they weren't in the exact order I had them in before she knocked them down. And of course, I can't talk yet, so I can't tell her that. Ensuing a 30-minute episode of my mother trying to figure out what's wrong and how to put the blocks back together so I stop crying.
Oh, being a parent, how I both look forward to and dread the day. Also,
Yeah.
Charles, as for the woke inoculation, I think there is absolutely a like just on the language front, you can describe something in two ways and make it seem either very conservative or very woke. For example, I could describe you as and this is, as you know, entirely friendly. I could describe you as an autistic monarchist who enjoys literature, or I could call you a neurodivergent, politically active bookworm. Which one of those sounds leftist and which one of those sounds rightist?
A neurodivergent, politically active book.
Why are
Oh,
they?
that should be
Okay,
my
okay.
Twitter
This is
bio.
something that annoys me. People who are trying to accommodate neurodivergent people making social interaction unintentionally more complicated for a notably socially inept demographic of people.
I just hate the term
Because
neurodivergent because I can't freaking spell it.
Yes.
yeah, I mean here's the funny thing. It well here like I basically look at the people who organize those things and I just think they go, well, they don't understand the regular social things, so let's make wacky social things and see if it works.
Like the whole, I heard someone argue that neopronouns and the gender spectrum is better for autistic people. And honestly, I want to know who sat down and came up with this because
A neurotypical
what I
person?
what I want to say, Charles won't let me say on the podcast to describe my exact feelings about this individual
Just put it in a very
and
loud bleep for
what
like
she
10
came up
seconds.
with. Because
No.
let's be honest, we know it was a she. It was some kind of woman probably taking gender studies and then going into psychology. Because a dude definitely did not come up with this nonsense.
Yeah.
And yes, that is me being low-key sexist, and this will be the only time you'll hear me be a little low-key sexist. But
But he's allowed to because he's fighting for the neurodivergent minority. No, I'm kidding.
I hate it when people try to pander me. I seriously would rather have not had the idea, because honestly, I thought there wasn't anything, and I am going to say wrong with me, because the fact that right now I have like zero friendships outside of my current circumstance, which is work, is clearly is clearly a problem. Um, well, and you guys obviously, but you're also work, I guess. But trying to change the government is kind of a laborious task.
On,
But but anyways,
Charles shows his neurodiversity again. Anyway,
no, I mean, like, I am going to say, before I would rather have it so that I didn't know there was something wrong with me, because before I thought I was just like normal, and then like before middle school, or maybe during it, is when people started to throw the word Asperger's and whatnot around me. And that was when I guess I started to use it as an excuse. Because, and then another thing too is that I had to go to some evaluation in Detroit. It's like, ooh, I get to see actual tramways, or not tramways. Anyways, I'll try to stay on topic. The and so the evaluist, she was given some papers by my dad from my three teachers, and I read them, and they're examples of my behavior that are so obviously autistic reading them. And well, one of them wasn't. Okay, one of them was someone saying in a clearly joking fashion, "Hey, I like your shoes," and I'm like, and I was saying in a kind of a tongue-in-cheek way, "Well, yeah, my dad made me get them," or whatever, or "Thanks, my dad." And my teacher interpreted that as some sort of autistic thing when that was me trying to be tongue-in-cheek. Clearly, it didn't work out well. But I mean, I'd rather not have known, because now I do all of these things and I'm looking, and especially when I type, when I'm typing a message, I think, oh, this sounds really, you know, um, yeah. I
after
think I'd rather not have known, to be honest, because that's when I started to act different.
well, yeah, and
after after I got evaluated, I understand completely because it's one thing to not know that there's something innately wrong with how you interact with other people. It's another thing for you to sit down, be told, and know that there's something wrong with how you interact with people, and then not know how to fix it. Like,
yeah,
I didn't when I started getting treated for mine, I ended up developing social anxiety because I became aware of everything that I did wrong when I interacted with people, but then I couldn't fix it. I didn't know what to do.
and as they would say neurotypical, or as Charles would say normal person, I notice things that, because okay, I have autistic friends, obviously. I mean, you guys are
Hello.
examples. Yeah, you guys are
Hi.
examples and IRL people. But one thing that really, really annoys me when I see, specifically like in my school, teachers and just generally people who are trying to pander, what they will do is that they will speak to people with autism like they're 5 years old. And it is the most infuriating thing ever. Like I mean, I have conversations with you guys just like I would anyone else. I don't expect you guys to get some of the things, like some of the more below the surface level social understandings, but like that doesn't mean I don't talk to you regular. I don't go, well, how are you, Will? Are you having a good day on Monarchist Minute? Like, I don't talk to you like you're 3.
And that's why I don't actually make it public knowledge or put down on anything that I am autistic, even though I probably should. Like, do I have any mental or developmental disabilities or anything? Because I don't want people to look at me and, try and be helpful in like a really condescending way. Because I had to deal with enough of that when I was in school.
Yeah.
Funny enough, speaking of that, so I have neurodiversity. I don't know exactly because I've only been tested for dyslexia. But when I told my manager at my job, I do maintenance, by the way, that next week, that whole week. Go ahead, Will.
Bubba, your southern accent is really coming out right now.
But that next week, after I told him that next week, he'll come up to me and go like, "Oh, this is how you mop. Let me show you how to mop, or let me show you how to sweep up in a dustpan." It's like,
I'm
how old do you
autistic,
think?
not retarded. I know what I'm doing, people.
I'm 22, and it's like I know what I'm doing. And then in school, I was held back from being able to achieve everything I wanted because of my dyslexia. But it's
Freak.
so bad. I had someone who was close to me told me that I was faking my whole life being dyslexic just because I was able to spell a
I,
certain word for them,
I
and I hated it.
having gotten many a misspelled message from Bubba, I can tell you it's not fake. Because no one casually misspells words that hard. No one, like, you can't just plan to, like, the meme where people write YUO? He's done that multiple times. Believe me, not
But,
faking it.
Bubba, I understand completely. I actually had to fight with the school just so I could write my own essays. They wouldn't let me write my own essays because my
I didn't want to
handwriting
write.
was illegible, even though I completely wanted to.
I
Oh,
didn't want to write essays. I
this
hated
is
writing.
this is the thing, right? So the school, my high school is like, freshman year, whatever they call this meeting with my parents, like, we need to establish what sort of not privileges, what healthy things or whatever for your son. And I'm like, I don't want extra time on tests. I don't want just like treat me as a normal student. And you know what? I did fine. I graduated magna cum laude, with great honor.
Oh,
See,
I
that's
needed that
that's what
extra
2 years of
time.
Latin does. I could translate that basic phrase.
You
Yeah,
know, and now that we're done, if we're done ragging on the non-autistic people, I will say I do have some complaints about the autistic community online.
I think that is, yeah, no, separate the online from everything else, because there is what I hate to do is lump in certain groups of people with how they're represented by people online. So it so I
Then,
generally refer to those groups of people online who do it by very rude words, but Charles would dock me money if I did again.
but
So
there's a growing amount of people online who are identify as autistic. Some are self-diagnosed, some are officially diagnosed. I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't think if you haven't gone to a hospital and gone through the hassle and everything of getting an actual diagnosis, you that's kind of part of the experience, in my opinion. But there's a lot of people who are blaming neurotypicals, the normal people, for everything that's wrong in their life. And while I understand that, yeah, a lot of people aren't helpful, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not the one that has the issues. Because,
yeah, I think there is a distinct difference between being autistic and putting 8 million things in your bio and starting every video by saying you're autistic, you know.
Real
So
autistic people don't have autism for the clout.
yeah. And I know for a fact that every single autistic person who ever shows it on the internet, like very
They're not
publicly,
autistic because no autistic person would ever be brave enough to post half of that stuff on the internet.
neurodivergent, autistic, nyam, 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 you know,
Like,
3,000
I've
And
characters
of
bio.
course,
so many
and of course, here's the kicker here. Some of them like use autism as sort of a crutch to say, "Oh, you can't punish me for my opinion because I'm autistic."
How yeah,
I'm also autistic. Your opinions.
yeah. And I know people who on certain, not this server, but on other servers will try and use it to avoid punishment. Like, we're on Discord, come on, dude.
Everyone here is a little weird.
A little, yeah. No one outright like joins Discord without having a little bit of it, a little tad of the tism, as I would say.
Yeah.
But
I
Oh,
mean, if
right.
you
honestly,
don't, you're just not cool.
all these people online, like you see them post their TikTok videos about them stimming or whatever they call it, and it's like, I would never be brave enough to post any of my weird, quirky things online because
See,
I have a sense of something, and it's called shame, and I don't want the public to see that.
yeah. Here's the thing. People, there's two types of online autistic. There is putting it in your bio and making it your personality, and then there's going into enormous detail about model trains.
Or
Not
going into
right.
Trains going for
absolutely,
alternate history. Let's be
going
honest.
into, we're going into absolutely detailed discussions about naval history, which take us off topic for almost an hour.
I mean,
Or,
hey,
like 95% of the anime community, because let's be honest.
Yeah. And I will admit, having obsessions and like going super deep into stuff is generally just a male thing to do. But like I think that also just the ability to have it that just deeply ingrained in your soul is more of an autistic thing. Like, sure, I'm big on history and such, but not Charles is on trains kind of, you know. Not that it's a bad thing at all. It's just hilarious to me.
And
hey,
We're right. Let's This has been an excellent discussion.
I think I think it's actually been great, and plus it's fun to listen to people just chat about things.
It is. And speaking of chatting about things, does anyone else have any good news that has happened in their particular localities today? Or not just today, but this week?
um, our city police force hasn't been completely overwhelmed, despite continuing to be very small and tiny. So I consider that a win.
Great.
the Scoutmaster of my troop got the highest award in our district.
Who did?
Oh,
Mm,
The
congratulations.
Scoutmaster of my troop.
Oh, congratulations to the Scoutmaster.
yes, congratulations. Oh, and I guess for Victor, this one, he hasn't been murdered yet, which, considering where he lives, is quite a shocker.
That is totally an accomplishment. I must admit.
Yeah, surviving
I
in Maryland is just an amazing accomplishment. Let's give Victor a hand for surviving in Maryland.
Baltimore is the real life
Thank-
battle royale.
Even
this is
even
why I
Thank
say the
you,
Potomac is the new
everyone. But
Mississippi.
pretty much all of the crime is focused on a couple of smaller parts of Baltimore, of inner city Baltimore. I live in neither of those.
oh, don't be so modest. I mean, you even went outside multiple times this week. I mean,
I know. It's amazing. I'm pretty sure, like we imagine Victor's daily commute as like jumping over cars and like James Bond gunning people down.
you know what? If copyright laws ever become sensible, okay,
Somebody should make a meme out of that.
yeah,
Somebody
I
should
think
make a meme.
I think I'm being pressured here.
yeah, no.
Yes,
No
you are
I
one's
think
being pressured
Make
here.
the meme.
okay.
I am no
Uh,
longer asking for the meme.
Anyway, let us.
Oh wait, I do have one thing to say. If
Okay.
copyright law ever became sensible, James Bond would enter the public domain. Who among us will step up to the role of James Bond?
I don't think any of us in here are in good enough shape for the role of
Hey,
James
I do 50
Bond.
push-ups a day, except Sundays. So, I mean,
I
Okay,
think
maybe yeah.
I mean we just need a James Bond where like every time he uses his license to kill, which by the way, Second Amendment baby. Every time he uses his license to kill, he just says like for the Queen or something. Like just something or King now. Oh no, I just made myself sad. Anyway, yeah, just to monarchist it up a bit.
yes.
Yeah,
James,
I'm trying to low-key convince my friend who's an actor to make a loyalist movie.
yes, we need
A
a
movie
loyalist
about the
answer to the
American
Patriot.
a movie about the American Revolution from the loyalist perspective. I'm trying to convince him and his film buddies to come up with the concept.
Maybe we could make a movie about one of the British redcoats who was like horribly butchered and what his life was like, and his wife and kids. Horribly butchered by Mel Gibson with like a tomahawk or whatever.
That movie The Patriot was great, honestly.
I mean,
Truly,
I'm sure it was as a movie, but at the same time, as a loyalist, you're kind of like, look at how they're massacring my boys.
I will return momentarily.
Um,
Jason Isaacs was incredible in that movie.
yeah. Did he direct the movie too, or was he just the main actor? Gates. I mean, not Gates. Gibson.
I don't
No
know.
idea.
I mean, he directed Passion of the Christ, right? Yeah. That was like, or
No,
he
that
just
is
produced
Mel
it.
Gibson.
Yeah, I was talking about Mel Gibson. I
You
don't
keep
know. I
saying Mel
mean,
I
Gibson, I
was
this
keep
is the
focusing on
thinking
thing,
Mel
right?
Albert.
This
Gibson.
is how I think like my patterns are from another time because I have my coworker, and whenever I ask an obvious question like that, she says, "Well, why don't you just look it up on your phone?" And or sometimes she'll just look it up on her phone. I'm like, but I don't want like it doesn't cross my mind that I have the magical cube, or not cube, magical rectangle in my pocket that contains almost the sum total of human knowledge on the internet. Like it's not
The
something
all-knowing chocolate bar.
that I remember when they first invented chocolate. Sweet chocolate. I always hated it. Yeah, chocolate's too diverse for me. No, I'm joking. I'll take plain milk chocolate.
I like white chocolate.
No, too diverse. Um, I'm sorry. I don't know what people want me to like try diverse foods, but every time I go to one restaurant, one Coney Island, or one Coney Island, I always get the working man special, the burger, the Coney dog, with the pop and the fries. That's my order. I go to the Italian restaurant. I get that pizza dinner special pizza, the soup,
I'm
and the
pretty
Coke.
sure shawarma would send you into cardiac arrest.
Probably.
I've always wanted to try shawarma, but there isn't a
You
shawarma place
should.
within
It's
50 miles.
great. There's a great one near me.
Just don't accident. I wish there was a proper Euro joint in my town.
So just let you know. Well, if you talk about
whatever, however that's pronounced with trad. Don't say it looks like burritos.
Because it's not. It's a completely different food.
All
I made that
right.
mistake.
Formal. Oh,
Let's.
well, okay, you're probably gonna hate me for saying this, but a euro is just a Greek taco.
Yes.
You
Mm,
mean a gyro?
Euro. It's pronounced Euro.
Gyro
Yeah.
works.
Okay. So let's get to a slightly more monarchist topic and talk about this report that was out this week about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex allegedly being in a quote near catastrophic car accident this week in New York. Apparently, the NYPD had no idea what was going on when they made their report.
Journalists being.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know how bad it really was, but we need to just kill paparazzi as an idea. Like,
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
I mean,
there's
if they trespass, that could be arranged.
no. I meant the idea, not the people. But I mean, it's just okay. Look, the people you're photographing are public figures. I get it. And if you see one out in public, take your like photo of Mark Zuckerberg ordering a McDonald's or whatever, right? But or maybe you don't. That's kind of that's also kind of freaky. Um, but but like, don't chase someone. Don't like run after someone just to wait. Didn't like who's the Canadian guy that everyone like hated 10 years ago? Justin Bieber. Didn't he like kill? Did he like run down paparazzi or like did he do something?
No, but if you want a really good demonstration of people being funny to the paparazzi, watch like, who was the first Spider-Man? I'm forgetting it. Tobey Maguire. Watch him with the paparazzi. He hates them, and it's hilarious.
It's just I know. I mean, I can't remember. It's like oh no. Justin Bieber called the police being chased by paparazzi. I'm sorry. I don't want to imply that Justin Bieber killed anyone, as far as we're aware. But okay. No, but it's just imagine like getting a call and like it's like you're from the local police department and it's hi, I'm Justin Bieber. The paparazzi's chasing me. Like, what do you do? Like, firstly, do you believe the guy who's calling you saying he's Justin Bieber? And then secondly, what do you do about the fact that Justin Bieber is being chased by the paparazzi? Because like, obviously in a joking way, really you would try to stop it. But like in a joking way, what would you do if you found out that like one of the worst artists of our generation is being is being chased in a deadly pursuit by the paparazzi? I don't
I
know.
just
I don't hate Justin Bieber that much. I don't like his music particularly, but he's not as big a part of my life as he would have given my age.
I think his music has gotten better as he's gotten older, honestly.
Well, you got to understand, right? So when Justin Bieber was really getting popular, my older sister, she was in second grade, so she's 8 years older than me, about, right? So I kind of have that thing going on where I'm sure a lot of younger siblings do, where you're kind of partly in the camp of an older generation. Like one of my earlier memories is watching uh shoot, I just used her name. Dang it. Now I had to remove myself. Okay. One of me remembering my older sister watching on MTV. You know this was a while ago because MTV actually had a music thing on of when Paramore did "To Bury the Castle, Bury the Cat," which admittedly I don't really, I haven't like looked at the lyrics. They're probably really stupid, but it is a very nice tune, and it is one of the earliest memories. I never learned the entire song, but like of all the fragments of songs in my head, because I have fragments and complete songs in my head, like it's um uh Fahrenheit 451, like at the end with the book people. That is one of the songs that I remember partly. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're a younger sibling like me, you probably have a lot of influence from your older siblings' generation. So yeah. Anyone else have that? Am I like the only younger
I
sibling
A
here?
little bit.
my
I feel
earliest,
a little bit of it.
my earliest memory when it comes to music was my dad teaching me how to sing Master of Puppets.
Oh, that's a good song.
And I
Never
used
heard
to
of
be
it.
able to sing it. I didn't get the lyrics right, but I could keep up with the tune.
Yeah. Yeah, great stuff. Also, since you guys pressured me, I finished the meme.
Well, I technically didn't, but I mean, hey, I do think that Vic should play the next. I mean, once Keanu Reeves retires, I think Vic be a.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It
Yes,
is beautiful.
that should go on the Twitter, but I feel like the censorship regime would not allow it.
I mean, I just think it. I mean, I think that as memes go, I think that it would be fine to post on Twitter. It's just I don't think people would get it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I feel like
post it
that's a
along.
meme. I feel
Post
like
Just say Victor's daily commute in Baltimore. There we go.
I
You
feel
want me to
like
put it
that's a
in Baltimore?
meme. I feel like there are memes we should put on Twitter, and then there are memes that should stay on the Discord.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So,
Or like
Well,
if we
anyone
ever
who's
want to
We can
make like
post
a
alongside a
monarchist,
Baltimore crime story. There we go.
or like if we ever want to make a monarchist minute slander, we save it for that.
Dude, I'd have to adjust the rate. Okay, really fast, just an off-topic complaint. I really hate the size that movies film their ratios at, because most YouTube ratios are about
16:9.
yeah, that. But the ratio for movies is it's like 2 to 285 to 1, like some ridiculous ratio, and it's like greater than 1/2, like it's a lot wider, and it's really really annoying to deal with.
Yeah,
Because I mean, look how it looks like a bar, not an actual video.
it made sense back when everything was just in cinema, but now that we have television, you know,
That ultra wide is dumb. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's just I mean it was I mean I guess suppose it's better than it was because 4:3 was like the standard until like 20 years ago.
Well, you know how cinematic things are normally associated with black bars on the top and bottom? That's because of the stupid ratio.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh
anyway, sorry, that was my off-topic angry.
hey, look, I'm all for off-topic rants about technical formats. Namely, people who think Betamax is better than VHS, you're wrong. I will find you.
Blu-ray is
VHS
clearly
won the
superior.
format war for a reason. Anyways,
Anyway, yeah. Anything else?
so here is a sort of a final point that I think we could probably end on. Uh, is there any other monarchist news that we have failed to cover this week? We covered the nuptials and we covered the car accident.
How
Is
is
there any?
the King of Norway? Is he still in the hospital? What's the
He's
no, he's
update
out.
on that?
discharged.
He was
Okay.
discharged from the hospital. I'm pretty sure it's like a every 3 months basis for King Harald.
How old is he now?
He's got to be
90,
Yeah, he's got to be
90
fairly
something?
old. Yeah, no, because he's in and out of the hospital like quarterly.
Well, Will, would you like to tell us about our special guest coming up in July related to Norway?
Yes, we're having a journalist. Let me get our Twitter pulled up because I don't want to mispronounce his name.
You should post it in the chat so we can see if we can pronounce it.
All right.
Because we come from a wide variety of white people.
Hey, I am actually part Norwegian, I think.
Who isn't?
Mr. J.K.
You can't make up names.
Baltzerson?
All right, let's see this name. Oh, Balterzane.
Yeah, Baltzerson.
Oh, there's
I
no
hope I'm-
K to horribly overpronounce.
Yes, J.K. Baltzerson will be joining us in July to discuss a wide range of topics. Don't miss it. And as we said on the top of the show, don't miss episode 3 out of 3 of European Royals Revealed on BBC Select. Get your free trial now. And Charles, would you like to finish the outro?
Well, start the outro is more like it. Since we're done here. I have work tomorrow. All right. So, I have some news for you guys. For the outro. If you enjoy Monarchist Minute, if you really like Monarchist Minute, and you want to support the show, then feel free to hit the Patreon. I can't do it with a straight face. I can't do it. I'm sorry. We don't have a Patreon.
If we
we
had a
we have
Patreon,
not
that would
gone.
be news to me.
I was about to say,
And
I
I'm the
didn't hear
vice
about it.
chancellor around here.
We have not filed all the paperwork necessary to do that nightmare. Although really, all the money should just go into my offshore bank account at the Seychelles. But no. But if you wanna hang out with us in a voice chat from time to time, discussing non-monarchist topics and chat with us, then you can join our Discord server. Link in the description below. If you would like to check out our other social medias like our Twitter and our Facebook and our Gab and our yada 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 yada, we need to wrap this up. Then you can do that by going to the link
Link
in the
In the
description
description
below.
below.
And yeah, that's about all I had to say. Will?
Y'all bow your heads and prepare to pray in the manner you're accustomed, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
All right. Until next week, may God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.